coming to talk to the superintendent, the representative, where they will say they will do they want it, do they want to do that one. Then they try and see about the road condition. Now my market in the bush, all of my beauty, my black ball, some of my
where you see.
We are regime, but since the government took over, we don't have freedom in real life. The big challenge for us as a motorcyclist is one, irrelevant to say we are failure or foreigner.
First of all, I'm a product of the University of Liberia. I have my first degree from there. I have my second degree from there. The University of Liberia is the state-owned institution, the highest institution of learning in this country.
So how does today make you feel, Councillor?
To make me feel good that at least the truth prevail. We have recognition, and all along I was on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
I mean, people call me and say, $30 million again? Well, what is that?
Good evening and a pleasant welcome to K News at 6, a 45 minutes of newscast presentation from the News and Current Affairs Department of Cool 91.9 FM. Anchoring this July 15, 2025 edition of K News at 6. My name is Lorena Wise. We take this very short break to be back with details on this development. Stay tuned. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. We take our very first development here. The Economic Community of West African States Court of Justice has dismissed a complaint against the government of Liberia regarding the secret extradition of Ibrahim Khalid Sharif to Guinea. Ibrahim Khalid Sharif, a Guinean national represented by former Associate Justice Councillor Gabina M. Janet, fled to Liberia fearing persecution from the Guinean junta government. The junta government had accused Sharif of plotting to recruit and accused the government of Liberia and Guinea of subjecting him to enforced disappearance and other serious human rights violations. In a ruling delivered by the court declared that the application is inadmissible due to lack of legal standing. The panel of justice are led by Sanku Mohammed Kurmai, Brewi B. Das Otara, Edward Amako, and Hassan as members. According to Deputy Minister Sanu Sharif, the lawyer claimed that the two countries collided in his unlawful code and court to arrest and detain him over accusations of arms installation maximalist activities, and criminal conspiracy. Minister Sanders stated that the suit also claimed that Mr. Sharif was tortured and detained under inhuman conditions and forcefully imprisoned. He noted that lawyers representing the government of Liberia stated that the state acted within the confines of the law. They added that Sharif was released and voluntarily transferred to his home, which he described as his country of nationality.
As we speak, His Excellency President Joseph Yuma Boakai is en route, that is if he has not arrived yet, is en route to Nima County to join ArcelorMittal Global CEO to officially dedicate the state-of-the-art concentrator plant. And this dedication, this inauguration of the concentrator is a milestone in the company's Phase 2 expansion project. The concentrator plant, I have to say, includes essential facilities such as the tilling storage area, a process water supply system.
Sorry for bringing you that wrong. I said we will bring it in subsequent time. And for our next development here, President Joseph Boakai fought against corruption by suspending alleged corrupt officials has been met with criticism over what many critics view as lapse from his government of fast-track investigations and prosecute corrupt suspended officials. Avin Wise, a stern member of the opposition coalition for democratic change, lashes out at the Boakai administration's fight against corruption, stating that the government has yet to ensure that suspended officials are prosecuted and made to restitute stolen state resources. We termed the suspensions of numerous officials by President Joseph Boakai as political showmanship. He said the government fight against corruption can only be genuine when it exerts equal energy on prosecuting former officials and current officials and ensures that corrupt public servants do not work with impunity. He named the suspension of the Liberia Telecommunications Chairman Adulai Kamara, the Chief Executive Officer, the National Oil Company, Swai Koko Dennis, and the Director General of the Liberia's Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority, Christopher Swai Koko, among others, as alleged corruption cases that the government is yet to provide outcomes for the ensured prosecution if proven.
The government is industrializing and legitimizing the fight of corruption. The government is only fighting corruption based on terms and conditions, and not on the terms and conditions of the Liberian people. There are a lot of corrupt elements within the domain of the Unity Party who've been seen and been protected.
Why have been suspended?
Suspended. Let me tell you this. That is a caricature. It's a mockery to the fight against corruption. It's cosmetic. It's being romantic on the fight against corruption. Let me tell you this. You do not know the scheme here. You want to letter about suspension? Who told you when you suspend somebody then that's the fight against corruption? We can say to you, that is not the fight against corruption. Where did Mr. Modak, the former commerce minister, today, after he has, of course, resigned because allegedly used over 100,000 to purchase a vehicle, and by extension being aided by Double Jala, the LRA's boss. Where are those two elements today? Ari Dale passing around working with the court of impunity. Are they not passing around working with the court of impunity? Have they been arrested, prosecuted because of corruption? Let's go to the public administration, Mr. Roden Jennings. Where is he today? This man admitted before plenary, admitted before the Liberal Senate, that $22.4 million were for nail and Sabun simply because this man is a man who is part of the Unity Party cohorts. He's part of the criminal cartel of the Unity Party, a cabal that has exploited state resources and continue to deplete state covers. This man today is not being back. Where is he? He's still walking free and parading with the culture of impunity. He's talking about the fight against corruption. So we're not talking about mere political showmanship of suspension. And if you catalog all of these corruption allegations in this country, now one person is being placed beyond bar from the Unity Party. The only thing we are seeing today, we see political action against former officials of the CBC.
That's the voice of Apin Wise, a staunch member of the opposition Coalition for Democratic Change. And for our next development here, Information Minister Jeremy Mpia has dismissed as false a trending video circulating on the internet claiming that President Joseph Numa Boakai expressed outrage over remarks made by the President of the United States during a meeting with African leaders on July 9, 2025. Speaking during the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism regular press briefing in Monrovia on Tuesday, July 15, 2025, Minister Pia clarified that the video is fake and that President Boakai has not granted any interview, broadcast, appearance or social media engagement regarding the U.S.-African meeting. He cautioned both media and the public to remain vigilant and avoid spreading such information. According to him, the meeting between President Boakai and the U.S. President was a major diplomatic success and a positive development for Liberia. However, the minister acknowledged that some individuals appear displeased with the outcome of the meeting and are using artificial intelligence tools to create deceptive content prompting to be President Boakai. He urged the media to fact-check content before publication and called on citizens to report suspicious material to the appropriate authorities.
Since President Boakai and all other African leaders were received by President Trump, and the particular exchange between President Boakai and President Trump led to very huge PR for our country. The views, comments, and attention that are in the millions. Some people are not happy about that. So we see the circulation of a lot of AI-generated videos purporting to be President Boakai, expecting outrage, indicating that he felt whatever transpired at the interaction between he and President Trump, insulting, blah, 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 and all kinds of stuff. Several of those kinds of videos are circulated. A number of international media institutions have reached out to me to either authenticate or disclaim a particular video purporting to be the president expressing outrage. And we thought this is a real forum where the folks in the media and those who are not in the media got to pay key attention to authentic videos and AI-generated videos. It's never the same. Watch the pictures very well. Watch the voice coming out. Yes, it's a spot app, so sometimes they may appear to look like they're real. But we wanted to say President Boakai had not entertained any interview, special recording, podcast, or anything related to the conversation between he and President Trump. So all videos you are seeing in that regard are all fake. And I hope this answers the question. All media institutions and individuals, both local and international, who may be coming across these videos, tempted to believe that they are either real, those are fake videos. We believe that whatever took place at the White House, positive, our comments regarding our country and the president, surpassing by maybe over 90 million, straight to go. This is a PR that other countries can spend millions for. We got it free. Angry people are trying to reverse something. I just thought it was important to address it once and all of the videos are saying and are real. Fake president return.
That's the Information Minister Jeremy Mpia there speaking. And now for our next development. With just 2 days to the highly anticipated July 17 protest organized by the civil society group Solidarity and Trust for a New Day. The Independent Editors Council of Liberia is calling on protesters to demonstrate peacefully and respect the rights of others. The council reminded citizens that Article 17 of the Liberia Constitution guarantees the right to peaceful assembly and free expression. Those rights must be exercised lawfully and with regard for public order and the freedom of fellow Liberians. In a statement delivered by Edwin B. Gorbor, Secretary General of the Council, protesters were urged to act in a manner that promotes democratic balance and that avoids infringing on the rights of non-participants. Gorbor also appealed to Liberia National Police to remain neutral and ensure the safety and protection of all citizens, both those participating in the protest and those going out about their normal activities.
The planned protest on July 17 is a legitimate exercise of this democratic right, and we encourage all participants to do so peacefully, lawfully, and with respect to the rights of others. At the same time, we remind our fellow citizens that Liberia's peace and stability depend on mutual respect and tolerance. While protesters have the right to demonstrate, other citizens also have the right to free movement and the freedom to go around their daily lives without obstruction or intimidation. We urge protesters to ensure that actions do not infringe on these rights as true democracies balances expression without responsibility. To the Liberian National Police, we call on you to exercise of this democratic right, and we encourage all participants to do so peacefully, lawfully, and with respect to the rights of others. At the same time, we remind our fellow citizens that Liberia's peace and stability depend on mutual respect and tolerance. While protesters have the right to demonstrate, other citizens also have the right to free movement and the freedom to go around their daily lives without obstruction or intimidation. We urge protesters to ensure that actions do not infringe on these rights as true democracies balances expression without responsibility. To the Liberian National Police, we call on you to protect all citizens, both those exercising the right to protest and those choosing not to participate. The role as guardians of peace is critical. We trust that you will act with professionalism, restraint, and fairness to prevent violence or escalation. Likewise, we urge protesters to cooperate with the police, recognizing that the presence is meant to ensure safety for all. Any form of aggression undermines the legitimacy of peaceful demonstrations and risks the harmony we have worked so long to rebuild. Liberia has come a long way from conflict, and our collective future depends on dialogue, not division. Let us use this movement to demonstrate that this agreement can be addressed without violence, without hatred, and respect for the rule of law.
And that was the voice of the Secretary General of the Independent Editors Council of Liberia, Edwin B. Gorbor, speaking. And for our next development here, the House of Representatives Joint Committee on Transport, Judiciary, and Foreign Affairs held deliberation on the ratification of key international aviation protocols and conventions. The move is seen as a major step towards aligning Liberia aviation standards with global practices. The House reviewed several international agreements, including conventions that address air safety, passenger rights, air navigation, and security protocols. These documents form part of international efforts led by the International Council Aviation Organization to ensure safety, efficiency, and legal clarity in global air travel. Committee members stressed the urgent need for ratification, citing Liberia's growing role in regional air transport and the importance of staying compliant with international aviation standards. Once ratified, the convention are expected to improve Liberia's airspace governance, attract more international airlines, and strengthen passenger protections. The Joint Committee will now compile its report and forward its recommendation to the full plenary for consideration.
Agree that a document be sent to a joint committee comprising the committees on transport, judiciary, and foreign affairs. The plenary directed that a joint committee reports in 1 week for decision, workings, and findings. The joint committee in its review and scrutiny assessed the protocols and conventions and consulted stakeholders about the relevance of the protocols to the aviation sector in Liberia. These protocols and conventions are meant to make Liberia compliant with the International Civil Aviation Organization. The protocols are also important to attract investors in the sector and ensure Liberia enhances its civil aviation governance and to become an active African member state in the decision-making of the RCAO. These protocols amend the original convention establishing the International Civil Aviation of 1944. These protocols include expansion of RCAO council members from 36 to 40, expansion of the Air Navigation Commission from 19 to 21 experts. The protocols and convention for ratification are as follows. 1. Protocol 58 and 56 of the Chicago Convention. 2. Convention for the unification of certain rules for international carriage by air, Montreal, 28 May 1999. 3. Convention on offenses and certain other acts committed on board aircraft, Montreal 4/4/14. 4. Convention on the marking of plastic explosives for the purpose of detection, Montreal 1/3/91, MERS Convention. 5. Convention on the suppression of unlawful acts relating to international civil aviation, Beijing Convention. 6. Protocol supplementary to the Convention of the suppression of unlawful seizure of aircraft, Beijing Protocol 2010. 7. Convention of international interest in mobile equipment, Cape Town Convention 2001. And 8. Protocol of the Convention on Interest of Mobile Equipment or matters specific to aircraft equipment, Cape Town. Recommendation. The Joint Committee on Transport, Judiciary, and Foreign Affairs deems it necessary to crave the indulgence of the plenary of the Honorable House of Representatives to ratify these protocols and conventions and forward them to the House of Senate for concurrence. Conclusion. Now, therefore, Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and distinguished colleagues, after thorough scrutiny of these RCAO protocols and conventions, the Joint Committee comprising the Committees on Transport, Judiciary, and Foreign Affairs do hereby calls on the indulgence of plenary to ratify these protocols and conventions of the International Civil Aviation Organization pursuant to the recommendation. Signed for the Committee on Transport, our Mustafa Warete, co-chair, signed. Honorable C.S. Miana, member signed. Honorable Musa Kamara, signed. Committee on Judiciary.
And that was the voice of Chief Clerk Major Sion. And for our next development, the Liberia Labor Congress has currently warned its members, organizations, and individuals against participating in the July 17 protest organized by the Solidarity and Chores for a New Day in Monrovia. LCC Secretary General Marcos Blumen said the National Executive Committee of the Congress did not give an approval for its members to form part of the politically charged protest. Addressing a press conference held at the LCC office in the township of Gannonville, Blumen pointed out that as a labor union, it is now the business of workers to engage in political activities that will not benefit their interests. The LCC Secretary General assured workers that any problems workers have with the government can be handled through negotiation.
We want to call upon our membership across Liberia, Monrovia, especially the former timber workers, that this protest, we distance ourselves from it. We don't want anybody from the former timber workers to go in our street to protest on July 17th for anything. Our issue of payment is before the president, and he's committed to it. And we assure you that don't go in the street for any reason for protest. No. Wait for us, and your plight will be addressed. We also call upon all the workers of Firestone that under my voice this hour, that they should never go to any protest comes July 17th for any reason, for any group. Let them sit home and do their normal activities. This protest is not in the interest of Liberia. And we as workers, it will not be in our interest today, that will be in our interest tomorrow. Please, I'm calling all upon workers in Liberia. Distance yourself from this protest. It is not of good. It will not help this nation. It will bring the nation backward. And we don't want the nation to go back to where it came from. We all know where we are coming from, and we know where we are going. This is a caveat to all of us, and it's an appeal to our membership that the former timber workers, the Firestone workers, the Chico workers, please do not go out July 17 in support of protests. No. Marcus S. Blumen, your leader, you appointed, he is saying no. Don't go to no protest on July 17. We have other means to address our issue, and the government will listen to us. Thank
you. And for our next development here, the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Women Horace, has emphasized the urgent need for a national shift towards improving the living conditions of the country's population, especially women, children, and marginalized groups. Speaking at an official program commemorating World Population Day here at the Pinsfield Town Hall, Minister Horace stressed that addressing population growth alone is not enough. Instead, she said Liberia must now focus on the quality of life its citizens live, particularly amid growing social inequalities and economic hardship. She highlighted challenges such as harmful traditional practices, thus abandonment and poor access to basic services, which she says are undermining national development, especially for women and girls. The minister called on the government and partners to ensure national budgets address real social issues and remove barriers that limit people's potential. She reaffirmed her ministry's commitments to working with development partners to create transformative policies and gender-responsive programs that uplift the most vulnerable.
We should be more concerned about the quality of the population than the quantity. Given the persistent challenges and inequalities women, girls, and children face, and of course, these group of people do represent the largest fragment of our population, it is important that budget formulation takes into consideration the need to address the social issues that prevent them from realizing their full potential. The reality of these challenges remind us that data must not only be used for information purposes, but to also drive action, design effective programs, and influence policy that is rooted in the transformation of our population. The government of Liberia, particularly the Ministry of Gender, reaffirms her commitment to working with development partners and multilateral systems to implement transformative policies that address population challenges and foster gender equality. At this point, I'd like to extend heartfelt appreciation to the United Nations Population Fund, the UNFPA, and our international development partners for their continued collaboration, support, and investment in programs that uplift women, girls, and the marginalized population across Liberia. Let me always remind all of us that it is important to remember that a nation that values its children, if you like, younger population, women, girls, is a nation that truly is prepared for the future. At this celebration, I want all of us, especially the young people, as we engage, let's reflect on our issues. And what are those issues that we want our government?
And that's the voice of the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection Services, Bamin Horace, emphasizing the urgent need for a national shift towards improving the living conditions of the country's population, especially women, children, and marginalized groups. And for our next development, the House Joint Committee on Judiciary, Foreign Affairs, Good Governance, and Government Reform has taken a significant step forward in Liberia's human rights landscape. The committee held a public hearing on a pivotal piece of legislation, an act to ratify the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the establishment of an African Court on Human and People's Rights. The protocol, originally adopted by the African Union, aims to strengthen the enforcement of human rights across the continent by establishing a continental court. If ratified, Liberia will join serious African nations in generating African citizens direct access to seek justice at a supranational level. The committee members emphasized the importance of aligning Liberia's national legal framework with broader African human rights instruments. They also highlighted the court's potential to offer justice where domestic systems may fall short. Critics, however, raised concerns about national sovereignty and the implications of banning decisions made by a foreign court. The committee acknowledged these concerns and assured the public that the decision will reflect the country's constitutional values and international commitments. The Joint Committee is expected to submit its final report and recommendations to the full plenary in the coming weeks. If passed, the act will mark a new chapter in Liberia's human rights journey.
An act to ratify the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the establishment of an African Court on Human and People's Rights. Report from the Joint Committee on Judiciary, Foreign Affairs, and Good Governance and Government Reform. Introduction. The plenary of the Honorable House of Representatives on Thursday, June 27, 2024, received from the Executive for ratification the protocol to the African Union Charter on Human and People's Rights on the establishment of an African Court on Human and People's Rights. The communication was read and the plenary through a Commission agreed that a document be sent to a joint committee comprising the Committees on Judiciary, Foreign Affairs, and Good Governance and Government Reform for scrutiny and report to plenary for decision. Workings and findings. The Joint Committee in its review and scrutiny assessed the protocol and consulted stakeholders about the relevance of the protocol to the fight against human rights abuses in Liberia and the African continent. The protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the establishment of an African Court on Human and People's Rights is a continental court meant to complement and reinforce the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. It was also noted that Liberia signed this protocol in June 1998, but the legislature has not it to become enforceable in Liberia. The protocol entered into force since January 2004, and 34 African countries have ratified it. The jurisdiction of the court extends all cases and disputes submitted to it concerning the interpretation and application of the African Charter, the protocol, and any other human rights instrument ratified by the state concerned. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we have seen many human rights violations before, during, and after our civil crisis, with some going unpunished or disregarded. These violations, in some instances, are committed by individuals, NGOs, and multinational corporations. A continental jurisprudence is important punishment to these human rights violations that will make perpetrators account for their actions. Honorable Young, Chief Flomo, member sign. Honorable Margaret M. Thomas, member sign. Honorable Fode E. Famula, member sign. Honorable James N. Cole on sign. And Honorable Priscilla A. Cooper on sign. Committee on Foreign Affairs.
And if you are just joining us, it's a reminder that you are listening to K News at 6, or 45 minutes of regular newscast presentation from the News and Current Affairs Department of Cool 101.9 FM. My name is Lorena. We say anchoring this July 15, 2025 edition. We take our next development. The campus-based Students Unification Party of the University of Liberia has issued a stern warning to the Unity Party-led government to consider would-be protesters of the pending July 17 protest as exercising their constitutional rights and not as a privilege. The political student-based group cautioned the government against harboring any motive to use the Liberia National Police as a tool to silence protesters who intend to express their grievances on the current state of governance under the Unity Party. Addressing a major news conference on Tuesday, July 15, 2025, in Monrovia, the propaganda chair of the pressured Student Unification Party of the University of Liberia emphasized that the massive tactical drill by the members of the Liberia National Police on early Tuesday, just 2 days before the much popularized July 17 protest, are a calculated attempt to intimidate would-be protesters. Pole Emmanuel Nya asserted that the pending Enough is Enough protest, championed by a civil society organization, the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day, to hold the Boakai Kong government accountable, should in no way provoke the government to silence citizens by weaponizing the police force. According to him, though the Student Unification Party of the University of Liberia does endorse such a protest led by the former Coalition for Democratic Change National Chairman Mawai Malou, the political student movement remains tough on the government to uphold Article 17 of the Liberia 1986 Constitution that guarantees the right of citizens to a peaceful assembly.
Liberians woke up this morning with a disturbing, ruthless, violence posture displayed by the Liberia National Police on the guards of causing intimidation. The posture for today and the image for today that was displayed by the police is sending out a signal that the government of Joseph Boyka, under the leadership of the Agio police, is now committed to protect protesters or individuals that have dissenting opinions to the proceeding of the government. Let us say this: it is everyone's constitutional right. Protest is not a negotiable commodity. Protest is not a privilege. Protest is a right. And when Mr. Boyka was elected to defend the constitution of this country, he was elected to protect the right of those people that would disagree with him. Not everyone that went to the ballot voted for Mr. Boyka. Some raised dissenting opinions on the view that he was not going to provide credible leadership. These individuals have been proven right today. Mr. Boyka is not doing that. In as much we question the sincerity of the organizer of the protest, in as much we believe that Mr. Moluba Molu doesn't have the spark, the energy, the ability to communicate, to inform, and to lead the masses of the people to total liberation. We believe it is predicated enough and it is necessarily dignifying that the government of Joseph Boyka protects the disagreement rights of these individuals that want to protest on the 17th of July. We want to inform Liberians today that if the government of Liberia cannot protect the rights of the people on July 17th, they have violated the constitutional right of the people, and Mr. Boyka must exit the presidency.
And for the next development, the National United Dome Truck Union of Liberia is calling on President Joseph Numa Boakai administration to put Liberia's drivers and operators first in the dump truck sector. Maurice Sangari, president of the National United Dump Truck Union, or NUDTUL, stressed the importance of policies that empower local involvement in the industry. Speaking to reporters in an exclusive interview, Sangari also made a direct appeal to union members to practice safe drinking driving habits. He emphasized that reckless driving only harms their reputation and, more importantly, endangers lives, urging a reduction in the alarming accident rates across the country. Zangari further commented on the recent transfer of vehicle registration and driver license insurance from the Ministry of Transport to Liberia Traffic Management. He urged Liberians to closely monitor the results of this outsourcing, staying vigilant about its impact on local stakeholders. Meanwhile, the union has announced the upcoming installation of its new leadership. President Sangari confirmed the ceremony is set for July 24, 2025, and expects several Liberian government officials to be in attendance. A renowned Liberian educator, Taylor Emmanuel Johnson, is calling for the teaching of sound language in all schools across Liberia. Speaking with K News in Pinsville on Tuesday, July 15, 2025, Mr. Johnson said the initiative is aimed at promoting inclusive education for the deaf and hard of hearing community, who he says are often neglected due to communication barriers. He revealed that some deaf students at La Cose College of Education are struggling to find schools to complete their practice teaching because most institutions lack sign language support. Mr. Johnson has launched a petition to the National Legislature urging lawmakers to mandate the teaching of sign language from grade school to college level. He also called on the government to train and deploy sign language teachers across the country.
Today, I want to dedicate this special day of my life to my deaf and hard hearing community. These are people that I really have interest in because many people have despised them because of their condition. And I believe that disability is not the main inability. So it means that the man, despite he's deaf and hard of hearing, he still can have the opportunity like other people. So it drew my attention more, especially as the director of program of Lacoste, where I motivated 6 of those kids who are deaf and hard of hearing to attend the school. And today they're supposed to be doing their practice teaching. But there are no other schools around that could accept them to do the practice teaching because they cannot force it on. They only deal with sign language. So I have to be finding schools that will take them, most especially in the single bell. We have the deaf and hard of hearing school. We have one on the oral. So I have to assign them to different places. So it drew my attention that we as Liberians doing French, we take French to be one of our major subjects. So I decided to do a petition to dedicate this petition to them. And this petition is a bit of petition for the establishment and monitoring teaching of sign language in all educational institutions in Liberia, and to promote inclusive education and empowerment for all deaf and hard of hearing community. If you really notice that if these guys get to the hospital and they want service, they got to read something before somebody read it. If they get to the police station or to the court, they got to write down something before somebody interpret. What is happening is because.
And now for our foreign development, Muhammadu Buhari live track the dramatic changes in politics in Nigeria over the last 5 decades, and he was often at the center of events. The former Nigerian president, who died on Sunday at the age of 82, became the country's military leader after a coup, was imprisoned by a new junta, then reinvented himself decades later to win the presidency in democratic election. Often pictured in dark glasses or black frame spectacles, traditional Zenam cap, and sporting a bold smile, much of Buhari's life was played out in the public. Well, that's how we draw down the curtains on today's edition of K News at 6. My name is Lorena, presented. Do have yourself a pleasant day. Bye-bye.